Steph said he believes the Warriors will be the last NBA dynasty because today's rules allow for more player movement and make it much harder to keep a team together. So, Rachel, do you agree with Steph?
I agree that it is going to be hard for another core group of players to win 4 rings together. What we consider a dynasty, though, might change. We had the Bill Russell era, right, where this man won 11 rings. And what players would say who came after him, say, there were only, half dozen teams in the league, and some of the guys they were playing against had part-time jobs on the side. The talent level
smoking cigarettes at halftime.
Right, was not as high across the NBA. And so if you were as talented as Bill Russell, you were going to dominate. That's really not possible after that era closed. Michael Jordan, his era. This was before the flood of international players, when it was just the Tony Kukocs, the little bit seeping in. But in his era, the talent level across the NBA was drawn from basically America. And we have a high population here in America, but it's not as high as the worldwide population. So now that the international wave has fully taken hold, the last 5 MVP trophies have been given to foreign players. Yep. So it's here. You are now picking a talent level from, instead of hundreds of millions, you're picking from billions of people around the world. So the talent level has increased again.
Yep.
And I don't think that you can now, again, with the CBA rules that he talks about also, I don't think that you can be as dominant in today's league because, again, the Russell era, the MJ era, the Warriors era.
He jumped over Bird and Magic. Right? That era?
Well,
That wouldn't be Jordan era, right? Jordan's little at the end. They caught them at the end.
At the end. They were trading.
I'm just talking about, 6 rings, 11 rings,
right.
6 rings, 4 rings. You notice the trend of where we're going. And I think, again, it's only going to continue because the talent level has just increased. You're playing against the other team. That guy's tougher.
I understand what Steph is saying, but I do think there's a team out there, like the teams that we just mentioned. You talk about it's changed. But if Bill Russell and I wouldn't skip, that's more his lane, not mine. But when you start talking...
pre-me.
I was going to say.
I know it is. If you start thinking about the Larry Bird era in Boston and the championships that they won in that dynasty, and the Lakers and Magic and Kareem and Worthy and Byron Scott and Coop and those guys in that era, then you think about Michael Jordan. All those same core guys were all together. Now you jump all the way to where Steph and them is at. That core was together. That core is already in place in Boston. It's already in place. And I understand you say, well, we can't keep them all together. Well, they're all under contract. They're all done. And if you think about 6 conference appearances in the last 8 years, 2 final appearances, 1 being a win, 1 being a loss. They're so far ahead of the curve. If they win, like you said, Rachel, the dynasty needle moves a little bit.
Right.
If they can get 2 more in the next 4 years, that's a dynasty.
Qualify,
Because of everything else they did leading up to that fact. On top of the All-Star games and the All-NBAs and the contracts and all the face of the league, you put all that in the package,
look,
they're going to be the next dynasty.
I mean, can the core of the Boston Celtics win 4 titles? Maybe. But again,
they already got 1.
That's what Steph is talking about.
They already got 1, though, and they've been in 2.
I mean, again, maybe they can, but his ledger was the 4 rings.
Okay. I agree with you about the Celtics. They have a chance.
Yeah, they got a chance.
Al Horford just turned 38. Can you get 2 years more out of him? Maybe 1?
But they can grab I hate to minimize it or say this this way.
You can find another Al Horford.
You can kind of find one of those veteran guys that can knock down a 3, play hard defense for
but
you.
He means a lot to them.
No, I understand, but you can find one of those.
Okay, Drew Holiday was the difference maker, so he just turned 34. Can you get 3 years more at high level out of him?
Well, they paid him as if they feel they can get 3.
I agree. I'm with you. Okay, Derek White just turned 30. Can you get 5, 6? Sure.
Paid him like that.
And Porzingis is 29. Still, can you get? Sure. Yeah, you can. And now we get to the babies who are
26.
Batman and Batman, right?
Thank you.
Yes, Batman and Batman. We got 26 for JT and JB is 27. Well, they're going to be in the mix for a long time. And it looks like, I'm sure Jason's about to get his big
No, he
deal.
did. He did it.
Did he get
did
it?
it.
Well, he
Yeah.
got all his. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
he just did. I'm
Just-
sorry.
yeah.
They both got
Okay,
it.
so they are locked up for
Locked and loaded.
Yeah.
good 5 years. So they have a chance to make some history here.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure about their coach the first year, but I'm pretty sure about him now. So if he's right there with them, and he's like, he's kind of growing up with Jason and Jalen, you
And
know,
if
like
you-
he's the same age.
all
you know,
If
of
we dive deep into it, they did all this year.
Yeah.
This year they did in the postseason
Yeah.
without a fully healthy Porzingis.
Yes.
So imagine if they got him next season or this upcoming season in the playoffs fully healthy.
Okay.
I absolutely believe the Boston Celtics will win another title. This core of the Boston Celtics looks like they are set up to somewhere along these years win another title. Am I ready to say that I think they're going to match what the Warriors did and get 4? That this group is going to get 4? That's the standard we're talking about. They could. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is harder than it ever has been because of the flood of talent on other teams.
Yeah.
And because, again, Steph says it's harder to keep those guys together, you know,
Okay.
across the board. But that is a high bar. When you look at what the Celtics did this year in the playoffs, they went 16-3. Well, guess who
or
went
2
16-1? The Warriors. So it's the bar that the Warriors set in that era was so ridiculous that that's what Steph is talking
All
about.
true, but they got old fast.
I-
These dudes, their core
Yeah.
is young, like the core was originally with Clay and Steph and Draymond early on until they grabbed KD. They were young.
Here's the other dynasty mover needle. Are the Spurs, with the number of titles they won in the stretch they won, a dynasty? Or is the fact that they were spaced out and they had the shift from, you know, it being David Robinson's team to Tim Duncan's team
Well,
and
if
all of
not
that?
for Ray Allen, we could be really talking about
Right, but-
dynasty because Tim Duncan would have 6 rings.
Right, but who's the core, right? When you say this
See, I
core...
always look at, when I start talking to dynasty stuff, I always look at who was there. Was the coach there?
Okay.
He was there. Was Tim Duncan there? He was there. And then Ginobili was there. And then after that, it doesn't really matter who's coming and going. As long
Tony
as you got a
Parker was
couple,
there.
and Tony Parker, as long as you got a couple guys and the coach, you're good.
Kobe Bryant has 5 rings, but he won the
But it was two
different groups.
Yeah, it was two
right?
different dynasties.
So again, what a dynasty is a little bit subject,
was
and I
two-
think
okay.
is going to continue to evolve.
All right. So how did this start for the Warriors? How did they beat the system of reverse order drafting off your record? Well, look what they did. Steph went 7th. Again, I was saying he should go first, but if you redrafted, I think he would go first.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. Then Clay went 11th, and I looked at the draft this morning. If you redrafted, he'd go 3rd. So you stole him.
Yeah.
And then Draymond is an all-time steal because he goes 35th overall. I think he might go 3rd or 4th in his draft if you redrafted it. So look at the value. You got all 3 of them where you beat the system. You were drafting in a slot where you didn't deserve to get that player, but you did because you took advantage of everybody else's mistake because they overlooked. And then you can't underestimate Kevin Durant just suddenly deciding on July the 4th, I think I'll go there. And I'm going to take all the abuse, and everybody's going to say, wait, you're going to join forces with those guys after what happened in the playoffs when it's 3-1 and you lost it. Wait, you're going to go there? And he said, yeah, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to take over the NBA Finals 2 years in a row. And without him, I just don't think they win. So that was a move that you couldn't see coming. It had to be right place at right time because Kevin's going into his 10th year, and he has to sit back and say, I'm not going to win with Russ. I'm just not going to win a championship with Russ as my playmaker, as my decision maker. Every time I need to go, I'll go play with those guys. And he had a good time playing with those guys. Right?
But if he'd have stayed tight,
Yeah.
they probably could have got one at OKC if they could have just
Maybe. I don't
stayed
know.
tight.
I don't know.
They certainly could have gotten more in Golden State, I think.
Well, of course
they
they'd have got more in Golden State, but that didn't.
But again, that's kind of a little bit what Steph is talking about, is that all of that requires luck, By the way, the Warriors
absolutely.
lucked out big time that there
Yeah.
was this salary bubble that will
Yeah.
never happen again. In the new CBA, they laid out the money differently, so it's not going to
They
happen
did,
again.
yeah.
But in 2016, remember the crazy contracts that like Mozgov was getting
Yeah.
and all of that stuff? Because they had this bubble of money that teams had to spend, they would not have been able to add